named Abby. She is overrun and overwhelmed by her depression and her anxiety. Now imagine this. She's scared to talk to people about it. She doesn't want to be scrutinized by her friends, her family, her peers, or even just strangers. She's scared to talk to people about it, and she has good reason to be scared. So many people have told her that her feelings didn't matter, and so she committed suicide. My name is Mary Hopkins, and I am team leader of Group 2, and today I will talk to you about mental illness and suicide awareness. I have had my own personal struggles with this, along with many of my friends and family. I have thoroughly researched this topic as well. We're going to be discussing the problem of mental illness and suicide awareness by looking at the issue itself, and we will be looking at two different charities that provide solutions for this problem. Jane Lithcomb will show us the Andrews Center, and Linda Darcy will show us To Write Love on Her Arms. Studies from Mental Health of America's suicide from May 2015 states, although that they may not seek prevention centers, people considering suicide usually do seek help. In fact, 64% of people who attempt suicide visit a doctor the month before their attempt, and 38% seek help a week before their attempt. To begin, let's explore why there's a stigma around mental illness, and we will do this by exploring the history, the present, and a possible future if things do not change. So why do we have this problem? Well, 200 years ago, mental illness wasn't an ailment that drew attention from the public. In fact, it was considered that people mentally ill in the Western world, France and Britain and their other colonies, were ostracized and isolated for this. And mental health, tracing the history of the stigma from the mental health care website, says this from July 15th. So back around that time, 200 years ago, mentally ill people were considered possessed. They were considered to have demons or deities inside of them that were causing them to act a certain way. And then we graduated from having possessions to putting these people in madhouses, and that made it seem more like prison than an actual facility taking care of these people's needs. And then as history continued to grow, we traded those madhouses for what we have as insane asylums. And that's where they actually started to treat these people for the illnesses that they actually had. They started doing unconventional things though, like electrotherapy and hydrotherapy. Now we're going to talk about the present and our veterans. So PTSD is still very prevalent among soldiers. In fact, PTSD is 15 times more prevalent among soldiers than citizens, says Good Therapy's article on tracing the history of mental health. It's considered a diagnostic classification that recognizes an enduring emotion suffering that could be resulted from traumatic experience. Now that we've discussed some of the history, we will continue to discuss how it's prevalent among soldiers. 68% of Americans don't want someone with mental illness marrying into their families, and 58% don't want someone with mental illness to work in their workplaces. This is related to our soldiers and how they're scared to speak up about mental illness and suicide awareness. They're scared that if they talk about the traumatic experiences from World War I or World War II or any of the wars that we've experienced, that they'll lose their jobs because they're perceived as weak. There is a severe misconception between suicide and mental illness awareness. A lot of these people are perceived as violent. The American Psychological Association's article Stigma, Alive and Well from June 2009 shows that, of course, vast majority of the people with mental illness are not violent. In fact, they are 2.5 times more likely to suffer from violence. and are more likely to be victims of this violence than members of the general population. They don't want help is another misconception. But in fact, mathematically, 3 out of 4 people in their lifetime seek help for a mental illness. Now that we've discussed the problems of the present, we'll discuss the future if it doesn't change. So if we don't change our future, people suffering from mental illness or suicidal thoughts, the rate of that will just go way high. The suicide rates will just skyrocket, and people will be suffering in silence for no reason because we chose not to speak up, because we chose not to help them. Now that we've talked about the past, present, and future, Jaden Lifkin will provide info on the Andrews Center of Tyler, Texas.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. And the subject I'll be talking about is mental illness / suicide. Have you ever had anyone in your family who suffered from mental illness? People looked at them pretty strange, as if they're gonna hurt themselves or hurt them. So they try to avoid that person. Depending on the situation that the person's in, he has to take medications, take pills. And so sometimes the person has to take between 3 to 6 pills, or maybe 10 to 12 pills. Now, the caregiver who takes care of this person, who gives them pills, has to rush to CVS to get them more pills. Because if they don't, the person could end up in a mental hospital. And we don't want that to happen to your loved one. So, according to studies, 18% of adults suffer from mental illness a year. And according to Newsweek website, last access November 1st, 2017, approximately 46.3 million of those adults, that's 46.3 million adults in America. And according to mental health program, last access November 1st, 2017, 9.6 million people have suicide ideations. So, looking at those statistics, that's a pretty huge number. So centers are formed to help these people recover and help them go through rehab. And one of our local centers is Andrews Center. But before we talk more about Andrews Centers and their programs, it shows that 56% of adults and 76% of children do not receive the proper treatment that they need to get over their sickness. So many of them go treated without treatment. And so now we'll talk about the history of Andrews, how they're doing now, and how you can help. So Andrews Center was formerly named the Mental Retardation Region Center of East Texas. The founder was unknown because it was a group of commissioners, Court of Commissions of Wood and Smith counties who formed this organization. And this organization was founded in 1968. And originally it was in the basement of the courthouse of Smith County. So their aim, Andrews Center's aim, was to make a difference in today's community. They wanted to be that important, have an important role in the community to help mental ill and suicidal people get better. Now that we know a little bit about Andrews, we'll talk about how they're doing and what programs that they have. Andrews Center is, as you could say, helps suicide victims, and not suicide victims, but helps have rehab programs for the mentally ill and suicidal. And some of the programs, as you can see in this slide is for grief, anxiety, phobia, shame, stress, post-traumatic stress, depression, and panic. And there's more, such as schizophrenia, of course. And they also have other programs from family counseling, marriage counseling, and basically how to help those who had mental illness, help them learn their motor skills, like walking a dog or learning how to walk, eat. So they help them do that. So now that we know a little how they're doing in their programs, we're going to talk about how you can help. You can help by being a voice for Andrew Center, by going on the website to volunteer at andrewcenter.com/service programs. That's the website you go to, and you click on volunteer, and there you can sign up a form to help. Also, another way is you can donate so they can have the proper centers and treatment centers that they need so that the person can feel better. Thank you. Thank you.
I have to get a good grade.
Your Riley's definitely an adult.
Oh, I would get your dad going with that. He probably already does that, doesn't he? No. No.
To Write Love on Her Arms is a non-profit charity dedicated to aiding those who are struggling with depression, addiction, self-injury, and suicide. This organization has excelled in encouraging, informing, inspiring, and investing directly into treatment and recovery. Today, we'll look into the history of the organization, its current programs, and what you can do to help. First, let's look at the history of the charity. According to the To Write Love on Her Arms website, in 2006, Jamie Twerkowski wanted to help friend Renee Yohe and guided her into a recovery center and aided in the cost by selling t-shirts. This website goes on to tell how Jamie began to receive messages from those who were suffering in the same way or mourning those who they had lost who had suffered after Jamie posted the story to the social media site MySpace. Out of this, the charity was born, providing a news source to those in need. Now let's look at some of the programs To Write Love on Her Arms has to offer. According to CharityNavigator.com, the group's yearly income is roughly $3 million. To Write Love on Her Arms uses this to reach out as best as possible, as the website goes on to say that they have responded to about 200,000 messages in over 100 countries. The charity has overall traveled 3.3 million miles to spread awareness and meet those who need help. They plan to continue raising awareness and gradually expand to reach more people. Now let's see what you can do to help the mission. Just by visiting the To Write Love on Her Arms website, you can find ways to donate, such as joining the monthly giving program or becoming a walking billboard for the organization by purchasing merchandise in the online store. You can also participate in Heavy and Light, a flagship event that is a night of songs and conversation that is not for donations, but for moving people. A review from the blog showistogo.com states that you will more than likely fall in love like I have. You can also join the To Write Love on Her Arms team and run in the Run For It 5K right in your own city. Overall, any way of bringing attention to the organization can help, but specifically, the To Write Love on Her Arms website is the best source for doing your part. Today we've looked at the nonprofit charity To Write Love on Her Arms and its history, current programs, and what you can do to help. Now let's hear from Mary Hopkins.
We have discussed and explored the issue of suicide awareness and mental illness. We have looked at the issues by first looking at the problem itself, and second by showing examples of charities that provide solutions, such as the Andrew Center and To Write Love on Her Arms. What you can do to help provide more of a solution for this issue is you can donate to these charities that we have provided throughout our speeches. And you can also donate to charities in your own backyard. And by donating to these charities, you're solving a problem that's right out your front door, right down the street, right in your hometown. And make sure that it's a non-profit organization, because you don't want your money going somewhere that it doesn't belong.